the what do you call it? The YouTube, because I think the topic you wanted to talk about was primarily the sort of the W-2 the year end stuff and the W-2 1099 W-9 stuff, right?
Yeah, that was definitely.
All right.
And anything else that you might have new to, I guess we could touch on that too. But yeah.
Yeah. And just give me 1 second to finish this thing up.
Steve, do you think like 45-ish, maybe 45, 50 minutes, do you think that would be enough to help us to cover?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, because I got to put the little one to bed later.
Yeah, that's fine. And all right, so let me just all right, I just had to finish writing this this contract. We finally, after 3 months of negotiation on what started out as 60 units, but is down to 35 units now, trying to get a portfolio sale. If this goes through, I've got $1.6 million on the books in February.
Wow.
February 2020. So 2021.
Wow, so that's got to be a huge commission.
That's going to be probably 40 grand net, because it's a little unusual. I'm kind of on the buyer side as well, so it's going to be 40 grand net commission to me, probably. So the deal there is, I've got my first 2, 3, 4 months. I don't have to sweat it assuming this goes through.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's the deal, and obviously this is all couched in, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know really what I'm talking about. But when it comes to, like, for example, with the Taylor transaction,
mm-hmm.
where I paid you and I had you fill out a W-9, which I still need to get that back, but is the whole bottom line behind W-9s is, if you're going to pay anybody virtually anything, I think it's anything over $600 a year, and they're not like, and you're not paying Jones Business Services LLC, you're paying Gabby Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And even I pretty much even have LLCs do it if they're small enough. Like if it's not clear, then I'm having them fill one out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went most of my career not doing this. It wasn't until the last year or so that Kelly got serious about this. But the IRS had the option of coming after us and saying several things. First and most dangerous. Okay, so let's start the other. Easiest one is the IRS can come and say, "Oh, you wrote $5,000, $50,000, whatever $1,000 in cash payments or undisclosed payments to various people. Show us the W-9s and the 1099s that you did for that." Well, I didn't do any of that crap. I'm not going to bother with that. These are all just lawn mowing people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. Well, those are disallowed deductions, so you now owe us the taxes that would have been owed on those deductions as income.
Ooh.
So if you deducted 50 grand, all of a sudden in your 20% tax bracket, all of a sudden you owe the IRS another 10 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Plus probable penalties, because the IRS loves penalties because they're fun. You also can get yourself in a situation, unless you use a very good independent contractor agreement, where it clearly spells out that the person's an independent contractor. They're stating to you they have their own workers' comp.
Mm-hmm.
We all know in actuality probably none of them do, but they're stating to you they do. They're stating to you they have their own insurance, their own this, their own that, blah, blah, blah. That does two things. One, it proves they're not an employee, because employee is a whole different set of fish. And two, it shows you don't have to pay their workers' comp. Now, if you ask the workers' comp office, there's a whole bunch of other standards you have to prove to show that you're not responsible for paying someone's workers' comp.
But like, for example, like let's say I get work done on my rental by my normal guy, and he does $1,000 in repairs for the month. I write a check. He gives me like
Right.
a detailed receipt breakdown of what he did, but there's no W-9. Like, could I?
Basically add a W-9 to that one, just once, just have one done once. It's not an
Oh,
every time thing, it's a once thing.
oh, so basically, instead of it being per job, just think of it as per person that
Forever,
you're
yeah.
using. Okay.
Once I have your W-9, I certainly don't need it more than once a year, but I don't think I ever need it again.
Okay.
It's because then what happens at tax time is you give a copy of that W-9 to your accountant and you say, hey, Mr. Accountant, generate 1099, Ryan is this W-9, this tax ID number, so fill out a 1099 for that purpose.
I see. Now,
Um,
does it really matter that I had asked that I had you put it in my name as opposed to the LLC? Like, does it matter one way or another?
I would give you a W-9 either way.
Okay, but I mean,
Because
it doesn't matter from my standpoint if I'm claiming that as income, I guess. Would it really make a difference?
I mean that all depends on your tax account and your structure.
Hmm.
I put everything in, I mean, because you can get more, again, at the end of the day, you can get more write-offs as an LLC than as an individual.
Okay.
However, for something relatively small like $2,000, the difference probably isn't that much.
Hmm.
But I always put everything in the name of my LLC. My phone won't shut up. I always put everything in the name of my LLC. But on this case, no. But normally I do everything in my name of my LLC because your LLC can generate more write-offs than you can personally.
Okay, so maybe what I'll do is, since the check was in my name, I'll give you the W-9 with my name, but maybe I'll just give you another copy with Paragon. So going forward, we'll just make it out to
Exactly.
Paragon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you haven't cashed the check, you could just put that in your company account. And if you and so you don't ever put it in your personal account, put it in your company account, they'll probably take it. The bank will probably take it. And if anybody ever questions it, you say, well, yeah, Steve screwed up. He put my name on it instead. Because I get checks written to me all the time.
Hmm.
And I put them in the company account, and we treat them as company. We don't worry about what it says on the check. It went in the company account. Okay, the person wrote the wrong name on the check, but I'm not going to go travel across town again to exchange a piece of paper. I just put it in the account. So that question is a question between you and your accountant as to whether
Gotcha.
or not whether or not that matters. Now, the other thing you want to do is you want to have a hold harmless agreement or a workers' comp. I mean, a independent contractor agreement. Let me see if I have one on my computer. And that spells out it's going to be in my and it's going to be in my OneDrive. The independent contractor agreement says a lot of things, not the least of which is here we go. So it says that they're an independent contractor, which to be defined as an independent contractor, and again, I'm not an accountant, not an attorney, whatever, but to be defined as that, several things have to be true. Most importantly is they're not working exclusively for you, which kind of, you've got 1-3 unit, duh, of course they're not working exclusively for you. You'd have no money if they did. And you're not telling them, you're telling them what you need done, and of course you're giving them a deadline, but you're not saying, I need you here at 9, not 9:05, but 9.
Hmm.
And you're going to take a 30-minute break at this time. You're not running their life. You're not running their business. You're saying, I need X and Y done on Z schedule with B rules. There you go. Get it done. Leave me alone. Call me when you're done.
Hmm.
That's an independent contractor. What Heinz does with you is, okay, Ryan, I want you available at your desk from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. This many hours, this many days. You're going to complete this many projects, and we are your primary source of life, or we're your part time or whatever. And there's lots more complicated definitions between that, but you don't want to, in most cases, be the employer of people like your maintenance people or your accountant or your lawnmower, because then you got to do FICA, You got to worry about if they work more than 32 hours, you have to pay them benefits and health insurance and all that crap.
Hmm.
So this agreement says those kinds of things. It says you're an independent contractor, blah, blah, blah. It says the services provided are this, the project cost is that, taxes are all on you, all on the accountant rather, inspections are this, cleanup is that, client approval is that. It spells everything out and it spells out the penalties. Now, again, you don't need this for, like, I don't have this with, I have a waiver of liability, which is built in here as well, but signed with almost everyone I work with. But I go through this once, and under the project information, I'll say being called as needed, whatever. So that way it's out of the way, done. Here's the paperwork, whatever. Now, a lot of handy people I work with, because they come and go so quickly, I don't bother with this. I just have I have a one-page waiver of liability they sign.
Hmm.
But this is especially important if you're going to use somebody regularly. You're going to do a bigger project. His code of conduct. This is key. Don't piss on the walls, things like that. Which sadly enough is actually something you actually have to say.
Oh, wow.
But basically having this document, and this spells out to them that they are an independent contractor once they sign this, because there's three fears. It was a very close friend of mine, a lady who was painting for me, and she painted me for a long time until she retired. And she broke her leg, like ripped the ligaments off her knee
Whoa.
on one of my properties. And we were terrified because by the rules of workers' comp, because we didn't have all sorts of certifications that she had her own coverage, because we knew she didn't. She's a lady with a paintbrush. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That she could have possibly sued and made our life miserable. She didn't. Who knows if she would have won, whatever. So that's when we really got serious about these documents, which isn't going to necessarily stop the lawsuit, but at least it'll allow you to say, hey, Your Honor, I have this saying contractor agrees they have their own policy, they have their own workers' comp. The contractor has read and signed and agreed to this to say it's not my fault. And, if the judge agrees or doesn't agree, okay, that's between you and the judge. But at least you get to court and say, you know what, Your Honor, I've done everything I can to be as clear as I can that all I'm doing is hiring.
Hmm.
Now, of course, if somebody is, Joe's, Bobby Phelps Construction or Joe's Painting Service or Lana, she's a professional cleaner. Okay, fine, whatever. It's pretty clear, she's got Lana's cleaning services on the side of her car. Well, she's not my exclusive employee. She's got something on the side of her car. So a lot of this is redundancy over what's already obvious. But you want to be able to be sure that you and the person you're paying are very clear about the rules. And you don't want them to say to the IRS, after you paid them, like Bobby, this 1 year I paid this individual contractor $40,000 on 3 different flips. Well, if I wasn't clear, he's going to tell the IRS is going to knock on his door for his 25% taxes. And he's gonna say, no. I was, or for not for income tax, but FICA and all that other crap. And he's gonna say, no, I was Steve's employee. Steve pays my FICA. He pays my Social Security. And the IRS comes to me, and I'm like, well, no, that wasn't our agreement, but we didn't have anything in writing.
Mm.
Whereas the IRS comes to me and said, no. You see the section under taxes, and he initialed it. The taxes are his problem. Leave me alone. And really it's all about being clear. Now, what happens at the end of the year is we give, in our expenses, you're one of the expenses for the company, and we give your W-9 to the accountant, and the accountant generates you a 1099.
Hmm.
Now, if you choose not to declare that money, that's fine. No problem, as long as the IRS doesn't catch you. I had, when my brother and I owned the warehouse out in Boston, we had a guy, we wanted to put in a tractor trailer, loading dock thing. And it's like a $75,000 job,
Hmm.
maybe 50. And this contractor agreed to do it for $25,000 in actual cash, like dollar bills. And my brother calls me up. He's like, because it was his store. I'm out here. He's out in Boston. He's like, what do you want to do? I said, and I didn't know shit at the time. I mean, this is 2001. I wasn't even in the business.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wow, what a great deal. And somebody just happened to say, must have been her mother probably, but she's like, get a receipt and make sure it's on paper. I'm like, okay. So we had the guy, we handed him literally a brown paper bag of cash. Must have been a big brown paper bag, I don't know. And a W-9. Or I don't know if he gave us a W-9 or he gave us a receipt. One of the two. He gave us something that our accountant said was enough. Because he is Joe's Concrete Company LLC. So he's his own thing. This isn't like some guy with a van. He was it was a real construction contracting guy. He just wanted it in cash.
Mhm.
So we said, look, fine, no cash, no problem, but we're going to have a receipt. And if the IRS he was big enough, we didn't need the W-9. The IRS came knocking on the door and said, oh, $25,000 cash expense. Yeah, sure you did. And so we handed him the receipt, and he's like, he did all that for $25,000. Like, there's the receipt. The IRS guy's like, okay. He's like, I guess I gotta go call him. And we're like, go do it. So I don't know if you decide not to declare yours, the IRS might catch you, they might not. They probably won't. But if they come to you looking for where is, your taxes on this income, where is your declaration of this income? What they can't do is the whole point of the W-9, the whole point of the 1099, the whole point of the receipt is they can't come back to me and say, well, you earned, 7,000, you cashed a check for whatever. I gave you 2, so I guess I cashed a check for like 4 or something, whatever. So, hey, you cashed a check for 4. Where's the rest of that? Where's that other 2? Or whatever the deal was, I forget. But basically, the point is they can't come back to me, and I'll say, well, here's his W-9, here's a copy of his check, leave me alone. And here's the 1099 we sent him, leave me alone. And so that's really the whole point. It's all about liability and tax protection. And it's also about, especially this document, and especially when you're dealing with guys who are a little bit less coordinated, not professional contracting companies, that, they understand that if they don't, if they don't finish the job, if they're late, if they this, if they that. I did a lot of construction with a guy in another year when I was doing flips, and he did a lousy job. He didn't finish on time, and we didn't have any of this in our contracts. He'd be weeks behind. I said, well, fuck you, I'm canceling the contract. He's like, you can't cancel the contract. And come to look at my contract, there was no right for me to cancel based on him missing a deadline.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, if I'd gone to court, I probably would have won, but at the time, whatever, I didn't. But that is the other half of it, is to be sure that you have clear yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
It's all about being able to clearly define something, and being able to clearly understand, clearly be very, very much in control. And so that's all it is. So all you have to do is you fill out a W-9. My mom called, like I put that off, and then her nurse just texted me, make sure you call her. So I said, okay, I'll call her when this is over. So you have the W-9, which then leads to a 1099 at the end of the year. So on the 1099, it will say I paid Ryan $2,000 for this, $4,000 for that, $1,000 for that, $1,000 for that. I paid Ryan a total of $50,000 this year, which then will correlate to a $50,000 deduction on my taxes. And then it allows and then on your tax return, they're going to see plus 50. And if their computers see minus 50 to you on my side and not plus 50 on your side, I don't know if their computers really cross-reference that well, but the point is the information is there to allow them to do it. Now, in actuality, over all the years, whether I gave 1099s or not, I always wrote off every damn contractor I could. The IRS never once called any of my guys. They never.
That's what I've always done.
I don't think they have a mechanism to do that.
Okay, then that makes me feel a little better because I've never done that with the contractor. I've just saved my receipts and made my deductions accordingly. And at the end of the year, I was like, here we go. I had $9,000 worth of work done on the rental this year, and I called it a day and I wrote it off. And they've never bothered
Yeah,
me, thankfully.
yeah, exactly. And basically, um, yeah, and at the end of the day, I've had situations where the IRS sent me nasty grams. Oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. I've never once paid more than a couple $100 in penalties,
Oh,
because it's like, hey, blah blah blah. In 2000, 2016, they sent me a note that in 2009 I did something wrong. Oh, oops. Okay, yeah. Here you go. Here's the extra couple $100 I owe you, and here's your $100 penalty. So it's never, knock on wood, I've never had it be dramatic. I've heard of people having it be dramatic, but I've never had it be dramatic.
how far
Because
back
at
can
the
they
end of the day,
actually? How far can they go?
what?
Like, how far back can they go?
At least 5, but possibly longer. I
Oh,
know
okay.
I've had them go back 5 years.
Oh, okay.
And I think the end of the day, they're the IRS. They're kind of like the mafia. They can do whatever the hell they
Yeah.
want. And I mean, let's face it, the IRS is what brought down Al Capone.
Hmm.
He didn't get pulled down for drinking. He didn't get pulled down for alcohol, drugs, or prostitution. He got pulled down for tax evasion.
Just very
Um,
true.
so basically we just have to so basically you just have to kind of be aware of it and keep track of it. Operationally, the independent contractor agreement on a day-to-day basis is more important to make sure that your contractors know what they're responsible for. Now, keep in mind what you can't do. Not can't, but shouldn't. You can't, there's a limit to how much you can instruct them on dates and times. Like, yes, you can say to the plumber, hey, furnace isn't working. Get your ass over there and make furnace work now.
Hmm.
But like when I had the guy, doing a flip for me, I couldn't say to him, "You're going to be at that flip 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. 6 days a week, and you're not going to leave except for 15-minute pee breaks or whatever." I couldn't do
Hmm.
that. I had to say, "Okay, this week, we've agreed this week you're going to get the drywall done, and it's going to happen by Friday. And if you want to work overnight, you want to work in the daytime, as long as you're not disturbing the peace and causing whatever nuisances, whatever, go for it."
Hmm.
So there are rules to how much you can direct their activities, but at the end of the day, you just treat them like any other professional and be like, "Hey, listen, I want this job done by Tuesday,
Hmm. Okay.
and if it's not done by Tuesday, here's what happens." So that's what those documents are about.
Okay. Good deal.
And
And do you
go
have
ahead.
anyone? Do you have anyone that hires you? Like anyone that you hire, you give them a W-9?
Pretty much every time, yeah,
Okay. But you said you only need one W-9 per.
per person or company or whatever, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And it's also important now when you get into bigger hirings. Somewhere buried in this, I think. If it's not, then we must have a separate document for it. And I can send you this, but is a two important things. You want a waiver of lien. I think it's in here somewhere, which says that under no circumstances will they put a lien on your property. We actually had a guy who totally fucked us over, and we're like, "Well, screw you, you're not getting paid." And he's like, "Well, then I'm gonna put a lien on your property." I didn't have a waiver of lien in there.
oh,
Now I have a waiver of lien and a waiver of lien by any subs. In this particular case, he hired a guy. You know, he did everything with the plumbing. He hired a plumber. And he paid. So I paid him enough to pay the plumber because the plumber did a great job. Here
mhm.
you go. Your money's paid. Well, he and the plumber got in cahoots. And the plumber's like, "I'm going to file a lien." David waived his filing of lien. I didn't waive my filing of lien.
Oh boy.
If you don't pay David, I'm going to file a lien against you. I said, "Well, you were paid." He's like, "No, you paid David. You didn't pay me."
Wow.
So, every time I pay someone, I make them sign a waiver of lien for them, and them and all their subs sign a waiver of lien for all their subs. Maybe not every time I write a check, but you want it to be clear that anybody comes on property. And on bigger jobs, I post something on my door that basically says, and I don't know where it is in here, If you step on property, you waive your right to sue me for anything. You waive your right to file liens, you waive your right to this, you waive your right to that. And again, this is a lot of this is me just being paranoid.
Hmm.
But you know, at the same time, you run into these situations, especially when you're dealing with what we would consider affordable contractors, which are pretty much the scum of the earth. The guys
Yeah.
who are $12 an hour, they are what they are.
Hmm.
So it's those guys that are so desperate that they're going to try something stupid.
Hmm.
Yeah, and basically, so you get a W-9. You only do one time for one time for each person or company. And if it's been a few years, you want to probably do another one just to update and make sure your addresses are right and whatever.
Hmm.
And then you give them a 1099 at the end of the year. And you say, here you go. You made 50 grand off me. Have fun paying the taxes on that 50 grand.
And would you be able to get me that I can use the W-9 that you gave me, and I can just Xerox some of those off.
Yeah.
But could you maybe send me the digital forms for when you hire a contractor, everything that you
Yeah,
send
I'll send
them?
you this now. I think it's all in here, and I'll look later if it's not, but I think it's all
Okay.
in here. Um, yeah. So basically, and the other thing is, you want to be. This is the last thing that I tell everybody. I never do deposits on contractors. I buy the materials every time, so they never have a materials expense.
Wow.
Or if it is, it's like, okay, I had to pick up. I'm never going to turn them down for, gee, I ran out of screws. I had to go spend $20 on screws. I don't care. But on the major materials, I buy them. But also, you never prepay them. And I was very tempted to do this for one guy who's been very good to me. And it was actually Savannah's like, no, you're not doing that, Dad. You taught me not to do that. You never prepay them. You never give them money in advance. Again, more than like 20 or $50, whatever.
Hmm.
And you never, you always want to make sure that it's clear how they're getting paid. Meaning not necessarily the Venmo versus cash versus whatever, but what the milestones are. Okay, this job is, this is a $50,000 job. You want to get paid every week, every day, every couple days, whatever, fine. You're going to accomplish X, and that's going to result in a payment of Y. And when you've accomplished, so what I tell them is like, okay, you know what, we're going to eat the frog piece by piece, on Z day. So, okay, you want to get paid each week. So tell me what you're going to have done by each Friday. And when you get that done, you get paid. And if you don't get that done, you don't get paid. And so, if you get 2/3 of that done, you get paid 2/3. So it's very clear, because I ran into hellish times when I first started where they were like, hey, they call me up like at 2:00 on Thursday. Okay, I'm done. Come pay me now. I expect to be paid when I complete my job. It's like, so you expect me to drop everything? Yes, I do. No. We have an agreement. We're going to meet on this periodic schedule. Now, a guy goes over to fix a faucet. Okay, fine. That's whatever. I also have it built in and check. It may or may not be in here, but I want before and after pictures of every task. Not so much on a flip, more on a maintenance. You don't give me the before, you lose 1/3 of your money. You don't give me the, you lose 1/3 of your money. So go ahead and do the job, but if you don't give me any pictures, you only get 1/3 of your money.
Oh, I like that idea.
And I may be adding into the mix. I may be adding, tenant sign off, but that's always a little more spotty. But and I'm actually changing it to video, because things like drippy faucets will show me a video where you recorded the faucet for 2 minutes and nothing dripped. or whatever.
Oh, I like that too. I really like that.
Because obviously a picture of a faucet's a picture of a faucet. What are they really showing you?
Mm-hmm. True.
You know, and again, everything is within reason. If just because the faucet didn't, just because the faucet didn't drip when they were there, and 3 days later it starts dripping again. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't fix it. Maybe the fix didn't hold. So you got to decide how picky you want to be. One of the things Mike and I are talking about doing is starting a booking service for maintenance people, and that's exactly the practice that we've that's going to be part of the deal if we can actually ever find maintenance people worth doing this with, which is 1/3. 1/3. If you don't give me before pictures, you lose a third. You don't give me after pictures, you lose a third. If you don't give me, if the job doesn't get done, there's the third. So you always want to be sure it's crystal clear what your expectations are. And crystal clear, like in the code of conduct, wherever that is in here. Indemnification and hold harmless. They will protect you from anything that comes up. It's crystal clear that it's not your fault. And this one comes out of the flip that I did on West River Street. I had so much, well, he stole my paintbrush and she moved my this and he moved my that and your children, I'm not your parent, leave me the hell alone. No fighting or arguing where the neighbors can see you. No threats will be tolerated. Never use violence except no smoking in the house or on premises. No alcohol, no drug use. I had a guy who replaced a couple furnaces for me at a really great price. Tenant called me up later. He's like, "Hey, just so you know, there was 2 12-packs empty in the basement." I'm like, "Well, did you get drunk?" He's like, "I'm Baptist. I don't drink." Oh, okay then. Don't use other people's materials. Let the tenants know 24 hours notice if you're going to change schedule. Last one to leave the job. It's like, well, I didn't lock the front door because I went out the back door. No, if you leave the property, you make sure it's locked. It's your tough shit. And sadly enough, I had a major and this is a licensed electrician, master electrician, city, Wilkes-Barre City license, the whole 9 yards. Neighbor called me up. He's like, "Why was your electrician pissing behind my dumpster?" I said, "Why was he what?" He's like, "Dude, I got security cameras everywhere. He walked out of your building, walked over, peed behind my dumpster, and walked back to your building." And I call the guy up. He's like, "Well, he's like, I don't relieve myself in tenants' apartments." I said, "You were in the tenant." I said, "You were in a vacant apartment with the heat and water running." I said, "What would even make you think that outside was an option in December?"
That's incredible.
And so it's now in there. No peeing outside. Oh, and I just had it happen last week with the guys building the second floor of my garage. Savannah and I go up there to do some stuff. She's like, "Oh, look, a bottle of lemonade." I'm like, "Stop. That might not be lemonade."
Oh, boy.
And I asked the guy, he's like, "Oh, we didn't do that. We went behind." I said, "You had the key to my damn house. I said to you, there's the bathroom."
Wow.
And he's like, "Oh, we don't bother people." I said, "So you pee in front of the neighbors?"
That's crazy.
So I'm like, "Look at page 12 or whatever." I pointed him to this thing. Yeah. So basically that's kind of the 101 of that. And
anything in the gray there that was from that form, I could just take out anything in the gray where it says like Penworth LLC. I mean, just obviously, so it's like the gray areas I could fill in myself. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously go through that because this is 5 or 6. This particular one I pulled up is 5 or 6 years old, so there may be stuff that whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But okay. Penworth is my friend Guy Ferriolo, and he's extremely detailed. I use his because he got stuff from his mentor that I didn't even think of.
Wow.
So that's really good. Now switching gears real quick, and then I'll let you go. So I dropped off a couple things to a couple.
Steve, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. You there?
Hello,
Ryan.
Steve, I think I lost you. I can't hear you. I'm still on. Oh, maybe it's my internet connection.
Oh.
Oh, okay, I'm there. I said my
Okay.
internet connection was unstable, or maybe it was yours. I don't know, but
I don't know, that's weird.
okay.